TiECON Chennai 2020's Masterclass. Thank you all very much for joining us on a Saturday morning. I hope many of you were able to join us through the week for the conference sessions. We're very excited for the Masterclass today. We will be addressing a topic of very current relevance. I'm sure it will throw up a lot of questions that many of us have been thinking about, have been on a lot of our minds. We have with us today Mr. Srinivas, an independent brand consultant who works with brand owners to help them conceive, articulate, and implement brand strategy. He has worked with Asian Paints, Unilever, and TVS Motors for 13 years before starting his career as an independent consultant in 2010, after which he has worked with brands including Indian Terrain, Housing.com, Bluestone, CoverFox, and Mahindra. He believes that brands that are driven by fresh consumer insights, breakthrough innovations, and clutter-breaking creative approaches have a better chance to win in a competitive context. One of his current areas of interest is the evolution of marketing strategy in a digital world, which is what he will be talking to us about here today. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Srinivas. I look forward to a very engaging session.
Thank you, Yashaswini, and thank you for the opportunity. It's great meeting so many new people. And yeah, so let me start. Anytime during the session, I think we can take questions. There is no problem. I think broadly we have, budgeted around maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours for the presentation. And then we can take as much time as you want for the question answers. Yeah, I'll just share my screen and then we'll start. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is the flow I'll be following. So I'll just share a bit about my background, a little bit more detail, mainly because that will also let you know where I'm coming from. And I'll very briefly cover basics and, digital marketing this kind of a session can be treated at a basic level or an advanced level. I'm kind of moving beyond the basics and maybe sharing a little bit. So I'll tell you all that in the perspective for today's session. We will then go a little bit deep into what are the kind of trends that at least I see happening and what are the imperatives and implications for strategy. Then kind of summing it up to, into saying, okay, what hence should we do? And more importantly, in fact, I think Yashaswini also mentioned that for me, execution is as important as strategy. So it's almost about, how to do, what to do, and then we can get into the discussion. Okay, so I basically spent around 3 years in Asian Paints in sales and around 5 years in Hindustan Lever in brand. And TVS Motor was more category management, which had a combination of brand and innovation and product development and kind of stuff. And from 2000, I think end of 2010, I moved to consulting. And it so happens that, maybe because I'm in Bangalore, I've ended up working with a lot of e-commerce companies. And that is possibly the perspective. So like I've never worked in an agency, I've always been on the client side. But, sometimes it's very interesting to, almost every e-commerce company, very often I found follow very different principles and philosophies. One of the, and for me, the biggest learning was that, this whole marketing in a digital world is still not a very mature science, so I kind of get afraid at this term called masterclass. Masterclass almost is an assumption that, there is a clear theory and we just have to learn. What I've learned from, working with these kind of companies is that the field is continuously evolving. And there are a lot of very different approaches that I've seen companies follow. For example, I'm just offhand, a company like MedLife, for example, grew entirely through SMS. And for me, that was a huge eye-opener. I said, how can a company just grow? But that's the strategy they use for the early stage. Another company I'm working with now, a company called Grow, has entirely grown through YouTube videos. And hence, each of these interactions has actually opened my eyes to, what possibilities of, oh, you can do it like that also, kind of stuff. So a lot of my perspective has actually what I'm sharing today has come from working with these kind of companies over the last few years. Just a longer list of companies I've worked with. Yeah, and very consciously, the reason I came out of corporates was because I was very keen on actually not going down into a general management function, but just being in the whole brand space. And for me, I consider it a great privilege to have worked with a very diverse set of organizations across many industries, and almost looking at world through their eyes. Yeah, and I kind of work like an insider during my engagement, and hence it's like again, I've always said that I learn as much from them as maybe they might have learned from me on that side. So at any point in time, if you guys want to go deeper into any specific category, stop and we can discuss. Also, just a small caveat. See, I've always been more in brands than marketing. So I've not really been positioning myself as a marketing or a media specialist. I've been more the brand strategy person. And but over time, what happens is that the borderline merges between brand and marketing. And over time, when the need is for more marketing interventions, I've obviously gotten there, but I continue to kind of maintain that I'm more the brand person than the marketing person. And hence, like I said, my experience has entirely been of working with brand owners. So I've never worked in a platform, for example. So a session like this could have been if someone from Facebook or Google or YouTube, they'll have a very different perspective because they are coming at it from a platform point of view. There are a lot of agencies, digital marketing agencies, which have actually been doing their own initiatives, thought leadership in the space. They will again have a very different perspective. They'll be a lot more specialized in terms of tools and techniques and stuff like that. My perspective is entirely from the brand owner's perspective, and that's what I'll be sharing. So that, but you'll always have to factor in that there can be a very different perspective if you come at it from some of the other ends. See, the starting point, and it's like, it's almost become a cliche now, is to say that digital marketing has been a boon, particularly for smaller companies, to reach out to consumers directly and get real-time data on what's working. Yeah. Before this whole era of digital marketing was actually, I would say, a big, the bigger you are, it's almost like there is a huge barrier to go out and become a consumer, connect with the consumers directly. If you were to take a print advertisement, or if you were to take say a hoarding or go on TV, the threshold levels were always a little bit higher than what a lot of entrepreneurs or startups could aspire for. I think the great leveler has been that digital marketing like Google and Facebook have actually allowed people to get off the ground with even like 1,000 rupees or something like that. So that's actually been the biggest disruption, and goes without saying. And the second is that again, digital allows people to know what's happening at a much more granular level. And these were two things that were never really offered in the earlier world, but this is like a 10-year-old news. So this has happened, and this is like I said, the starting point. Now, in this whole world, like I said, there is this whole avenue of brand building, and the kind of work that I've always been doing, my core area, that goes more into who's your consumer, what's the insight, what is the personality of the brand, the DNA, what's your creative strategy. And that whole area I'm not covering. But what is interesting is the traditional marketing has almost, there is a term that's becoming more popular, which is called growth marketing. And to some extent, you can say marketing is always about growth, but growth marketing is actually, in my mind, moving the function a lot closer to sales. for example, when I passed out of, say, IIM, I passed out in 97. There were companies like P&G or even Unilever or P&G more than Unilever, where the people were hired either for sales or marketing. Very clearly saying, marketing guys have a very different, more right brain. Sales guys are more left brain, etc. And it's almost like the two worlds are almost polar opposites. And a lot of people want to move from sales to marketing and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of, but this whole area of growth marketing, I find is really bringing the worlds of sales and marketing a lot closer. And also it is bringing the world of product development is also a lot closer. So it's almost like sales, marketing, product development suddenly coming together into this whole area that's today labeled growth marketing. These terminologies keep changing, but I like growth marketing because it's suddenly kind of, in fact, if we all grew up, Kotler and all that stuff, the marketing guru. Now, what Kotler always used to say is marketing is not a department, marketing is not a function. Marketing is a kind of, it's almost like an approach to business. Today, with all that is happening, there is a comeback to that kind of an approach. And some of this we'll cover as we go along. For me, the base is this, many of you would know it, but I just wanted to kind of spend maybe 5-10 minutes on this so that, there is a little bit of equality in our, terminology. This whole area of growth marketing in a digital world is kind of, there is this whole funnel where, there are impressions. Impression is about, how many people, it's kind of mirrors there, Facebook has its own equivalents of impressions. Google has its own equivalent of impressions. It is more about saying, okay, how many people are we reaching out to? I've kind of thrown my hat in the ring and they know I'm there. Then there is this whole thing, okay, a lot of people might know that you exist, but how many people have actually bothered to maybe click? So in an offline context, maybe it will come, the closest I can think of is like a store visit. So there is an impression, and then out of those impressions, a certain percentage clicks. The impression to click is possibly a function of your relevance or your interest, and say, okay, let me see who are these guys, I'll check them out. Then once they come into your store or into your website or into your app or whatever, there is some form of an engagement. The engagement is normally measured in the time I spend on your site or the number of sections I visit. And the deeper the engagement, the companies assume that the better the chances of conversion. Now, somewhere around engagement is where this whole terminology of leads have come in. Now, leads possibly is one of the most, I would say, largest talked about area in this whole digital world. Leads is where I give you the license to now call me, connect with me. I'm giving you a phone number. I'm giving you an email ID. And there are two ends. There are some people who think that leads is everything. And I've met some really senior business guys who believe that leads has no value. Today you can buy leads, but it's all about how do you actually convert after the lead. And leads to conversion is a different ball game altogether. And the leads to so some people believe that conversion is about great salesmanship. There is a lot of telemarketing that happens. A lot of people believe conversion is entirely about the digital experience design, whether your website is good, and a lot of expertise in conversion today. And what is really interesting is almost at every level of the funnel, there is a lot of fascinating theory that goes in. We'll visit some of these, but maybe as we progress on the session, if any of you have any doubts on going deeper into any parts of the funnel, we can do that. For me, the funnels also doesn't stop at conversion, and that's again, business owners always known, but it's also about, do you retain consumers? And retention has different meaning in different industries. So, for example, there are certain categories that are like, you're buying every day, like big basket. There are categories like jewelry, maybe you're buying once a year. There are categories like automobile, you're buying once in 3 years or 5 years. So a lot of companies actually grapple with this whole concept of retention and lifetime value. And that has an implication of how they approach conversion itself. Yeah, so I would go out of my way to convert. If I know retention, I can make money on retention, lifetime value. And obviously it goes then to the higher levels of, the almost the pinnacle of marketing is where advocacy happens, or referrals. We always look up to a company like Uber and Ola. They only grew by referrals or advocacy. People who downloaded the app told others to download the app. So the company really never had to do any marketing. There are brands like Swiggy, or maybe many of these brands have just grown through advocacy and referrals. And that's great news, because then it means that they might not have spent so much on acquisition in that sense. So what this opens up, this whole funnel opens up, is there are various metrics at every level. And in fact, even when I was preparing for this session, there would have been a couple of new metrics that have come up. Hey, that's interesting. And metrics today is almost like the new language of marketing. For example, whatever metrics were thrown up in this funnel, I would have possibly not read in management college when I passed out. I would not have learned many of those when I worked in Levers or Asian Paints or TVS. Many of these metrics have actually evolved in the last 4 to 5 years, and it's continuously evolving. Yeah, but it's almost like become the new language. Today, you sound a lot more savvy if you can talk the language of this funnel. And consequently, what happens is, so there are the vocabulary. So for example, you can say, what's my cost of impression? What's the cost of a click? What's the cost of engagement? Or a cost of lead, cost of conversion, cost of retention, cost of advocacy. So suddenly when you start talking, you can just take cost and run through the funnel. You can run through the funnel on saying, what is the percentage of impression to click, click to engagement, engagement to lead, lead to conversion, conversion to retention. So then all you need to do is just divide one level, and in Unilever, we used to say the best funnel is actually a pillar, which means a conversion at every level is 100%. Whoever impression click, any click is an engagement. So the aspiration for a funnel is a pillar. Yeah, so I'm never happy with 10% conversion. I want 20, I want 30, 40. And at every level, if the conversion is better, then you start looking like a pillar, and that's what you start moving towards. In some of these metrics, you can look at what's my share. If I'm one of my companies I work with, they actually do equipment repairs. So what share of searches does that company get? 100 people are searching. There is a certain cost, that's okay. But out of 100 people, how many of them are served my impression? Or how many of the clicks that happen are clicks that belong to me? Obviously, if you do the share at conversion, you might get closer to market share. I don't know whether for example, you could look at what's my share of lifetime value. I mean, at least I've not done it so far, but what happens is sometimes you can start applying a certain, way of looking at the data to any level of the funnel. Some of these could be a benchmark. So for example, hey, I don't know share of engagement, but I would like to benchmark. So if I'm getting 10% engagement, I would like to know what my competitor is getting. And those kind of things might also, tell me something more about. So give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'm just kind of, yeah. So the basics of marketing today has actually become about understanding, analyzing, and applying these metrics. Yeah, and to a large extent, the session could actually stop here. Everything that I'm going to talk beyond this is going to be about, okay, there is this way of looking at it. We can also look at this. But people, Flipkarts and Amazon, Flipkart, or many of these, new age e-commerce companies, Swiggy, Zomato, they've all been, driven by companies, by people who have just come out of engineering college. And they've set up companies, and they have actually thought leaders in the space. And all they did was they looked at metrics and they understood, they analyzed, and they applied. To that extent, there is almost zero rocket science here. We are learning from people like them who actually just done the basics. Yeah, and it's all about, do I understand the number? Am I willing to go behind the lines, look at what are the correlation between the data. Okay, if this is what data is saying, what can I do about it? And they just ask the basics, and they have created unicorns and stuff like that. And if you really get into each level of the funnel, you can answer questions like, is my budget adequate? Is my creative good? Is my content good? Is my sales or process good? Is my channel strategy good? Is my UX good? Do I have a good CRM strategy? So a lot of questions can be answered just by delving into the data. I kind of look at this as a good doctor looking at a medical test report. The same test report, a good doctor can read more into it. A good balance sheet, an auditor or a good finance guy can read more into the data. And the solutions will actually jump out of the data because you're just asking questions on the data. So, a lot of times people say, hey, I didn't like this ad. What do you think about the ad? You can actually go and get data that's relevant, or any of these questions or even more. And that is the whole, one of the big changes I found in the last few years is more of the marketing studs or the people who are doing very well are actually the people who are very, very comfortable with numbers. A few years back, it was quite fashionable to say, oh, I'm a brand guy, I'm a creative guy and I don't do this. But today you're finding that suddenly the meter shifting towards marketing people who are very, very conversant with numbers, and they are, because it's all, for any element of where you used to apply gut, today there is fairly good sense of numbers. Obviously, like I said, the numbers is only part of the story, but it's about analysis. Sometimes it's about synthesis and then application of insight and other qualitative parameters, but there's a very high benchmark of data itself. So one of the things I feel is that, today understanding digital metrics is almost as important as the ability to read a balance sheet. And inability to understand digital metrics can almost become a handicap. So, sometimes it's just like, oh, I don't know, but like I said, it's very, very basic. And if you maybe just apply a little bit of effort, there are books, there are magazines, there are blogs, there are training courses, but it's not that difficult to get comfortable with digital metrics. And suddenly that puts you as a business owner on a kind of equal footing with many other people, and then you can kind of then discuss more deeper stuff. Yeah. So I would say that whatever I've shared with you so far on what I call the basics is only kind of a preview or a trailer to this whole space, but it is more appeal to everyone to say, okay, just learn it, and then it becomes easier. You can go deeper into the subject. Okay, now it's kind of so much for theory. So I'm like, I said, okay, let's rub the blackboard. What I find intriguing, I don't know whether many of you have seen it, but there's this new Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. There are a lot of articles about it, and Facebook actually refuted the movie, saying the movie is all wrong. It's not like that. A lot of people are saying, yeah, this is should have been done. There are some people who said, we always knew this was happening. But what the Social Dilemma throws up, very simply what they're saying is there is a battle for a consumer's attention. Yeah, today if I have 24 hours in a day, how many hours is going to Facebook? How much is going to, say, online gaming? How much is going to, I don't know, mutual fund trading? Or how much is going to watching movies on Netflix? There is a direct correlation between the amount of time we give to some platform or some of these big tech companies and what they make out of it. And they're like big companies who are actually grabbing our attention, not only ours, all our children's attention. We all know it, like working from home. Every parent I meet, they're just worried about children, screen time, what it does to their brains and minds. And the premise of the movie is that big technology uses consumers like us for their profit. And they're actually advertisers are the bad guys. So there is big tech who's buying our attention and selling it to advertisers, selling information and all that kind of stuff. And hence it's this very, advertisers are bad, consumers are victims, and big technology are the guys who are laughing all the way to the bank. But what I find is the big tech actually, number one is about what they do to the consumers and how we have to be, technology is good, but it can also be bad. But what is interesting is even for the corporates, technology can be good or it can be bad. And too much of anything can be bad. Like I just got this data and I don't think it's too wrong. Today, what's happening is when we say digital marketing, we are pretty much saying Google, Facebook, full stop. Everything else is like, rounding off error almost. So there is almost a movement towards a monopolization of digital endeavor, which is always channeled through Google, Facebook, or Amazon. And these three are possibly fighting between themselves. A lot of other people are actually, kind of a subs ecosystem to the big 3 or 4. Yeah. And there is a real danger that each of them is possibly monopolizing certain areas. There might be 2, 3 other people who might come in and new platforms will get created. But what is really happening is, like, for example, this does not exist in newspapers. There is no, if you take Times of India, we all think they are very large, but Times of India might have maybe not more than 10, 12, 15% share, because a lot of vernacular publications and more and more. So there is really no monopolization of traditional medium. Television, there are proliferation of channels. Sometimes there might be a worry that there might be some ownership consolidation, but even that has not happened. So, but what is happening in the digital world is there is a tremendous kind of, I think they call it the network effect or the flywheel effect, that the big people have got bigger, which means both for consumers and marketers, the problem is that, when there's monopoly at a seller's level, then pretty much the sellers drive the market. Yeah, it's like, we don't negotiate with Google, we bid for Google. Huge difference, right? Normally when you say, yeah, if you want to release a newspaper ad, you will call 5 people and say, okay, who'll give me the best rates. With Google and Facebook, they will call 5 marketers and saying, what do you bid for my ad? And the best bidder gets to advertise on their platform. It just flips it. And which is why marketers will have to be a lot more careful, because they are possibly, the terms are very different from the way we were buying earlier. And they're just getting bigger and bigger, whatever data. So the challenge for consumers is the same as a challenge for marketers, is that how do we get smarter than the machine or the algorithm or the, one of my clients, very person I respect a lot on the digital intelligence. He told me, Srini, if you're an e-commerce company, you don't make money, only Google, Facebook makes money. He said, Google and Facebook will not let you profitably sell. I mean, it's an extreme statement, very provocative statement, but I think there's a grain of truth in it. If I try to sell through Google and Facebook, and if they know that I'm making money, they might just, competition will come in and the bid rates will go up and I start making less money. So the more I depend on the big tech guys to sell, the more I will struggle to profitably sell, because they are always going to keep changing the bid. It's not that they do it with bad intent, but it's just so the dynamics of this industry is always going to ensure that who's going to smarter, because the smarter guy makes more money. Yeah, and it is not a very naive or a very simple thing. There is nothing static. It just keeps changing. Hey, last year I was making money. This year I'm not, because the bid rates have changed or some competition dynamics have changed, and suddenly I have to look at it all over again. So it's all about how do we as a company, it's all very good. Digital marketing is very good, but then suddenly it gets a little bit more complex. And hence for me, the challenge is how can companies stay in control of our growth, of profitable growth, sustainable profitable growth. Yeah, and like I said, sometimes, the questions are more critical than the answers. You ask this to 7 people who are doing it, you might get maybe 5 answers. So because it's still changing, people are finding their own answers. But I always tell people that, it's not, sometimes I found people say, oh, get some, get some guy to do digital marketing for me. I keep telling founders and CEOs that it's not so, because it's going to take up a lot of your money. It's going to have a lot of implications on your balance sheet, P&L account. So please be in control of it. Understand the metrics, see how it works, get involved in the reviews, and then possibly you get smarter, and then you get control of your growth. Now, moving on. So this is the way I kind of look at it. So there are certain tech-related developments. Yes, like we said, because of the way Google and Facebook have grown, there is a change in certain behaviors. Consumers are changing their behavior. And there are certain marketing responses that seem to be happening. And again, marketing is not, we all learn from someone else. There is somebody who's done something and we learn from them. We do something, somebody learns, and then we keep improving. So that's pretty much how marketing works. But it's all very often driven by consumer behavior changes and a response. And consequently, there are certain skills, competencies, and there are some changes in culture and process we need to have, so that as an organization, we are able to respond in a very predictable manner repeatedly. So this is the kind of flow I'm going to be following. So let's look at a few examples of tech-related developments and consumer behavior changes, and the kind of marketing responses that are coming up. Yeah, and we'll maybe just checking on the time. So we'll maybe spend maybe another half an hour on this. Yeah, what are the kind of changes triggered or accelerated by technology? Like, we're not covering it specifically. Today, you'll find a lot of online education has got triggered, but then, something like a COVID happened. And so what I find happening is there is no unexpected change that is happening, but there are certain changes that were anyway happening that get accelerated by external events. Today, homeschooling might become a big trend even after COVID. Maybe a lot of parents will never send their children back. But I remember making presentations 5 years back where we spoke about homeschooling. We spoke about blended learning. So a lot of changes were always happening, but they were not growing a lot slower. But suddenly you find that that's happening a lot faster. For me, I would say, coming as I do from a brand marketing perspective, one of the largest trends I see happening is this whole peer-to-peer information flow. And it's not just peer-to-peer, but also bottom-up dissemination of news. So my view is not always driven by what an editorial of a newspaper used to say, which is earlier, I remember my father used to say, read the editorial of the newspaper, you'll become, because the editorial drives, public perception and opinions. Today, you find that editorials are responding to blogs. Yeah, the news is not coming from a press release. It's not coming from an interview of a senior person. It is not coming from, and what you actually have, you have something just sneaks in from the bottom. And suddenly that becomes one of the most, and it's like, for example, if you were to, I keep trying to say, best motorbike, best car, or best holiday resort. And suddenly what you'll find is you'll find hundreds of reviews. And it's many of you would have, I go mad every time I have to find authentic reviews, because I don't know which is paid, which is company's point of view, which is genuine. A lot of you would have depended on Quora. Today, Google has come and they've just pushed Quora away from their results. I can't see Quora easily, because if I type a question, Google's Q&A comes, and Google doesn't have as many responses as Quora, but I don't know I have to go deep into Quora. So what you find is today, like it's a war for attention, not only between Google and Quora, but it's also between 100 bloggers. And 100 bloggers are trying to tell you which is the best phone, which is the best, car or holiday and stuff like that. And hence, the And all hundreds of them are maybe saying very different things. Or what is funny, 99 of them are possibly copying from someone. So I put up a blog, somebody comes and takes my information, he puts something else. So it's kind of, the dynamics are very, very different. Though I don't know if any of you have heard of this book. In my, I kind of always joke, I'm a marketing guy, but I don't tell people to read marketing books, because, marketing books is just like, obituary. It just documents what has happened in the past. Marketing books never come up with something new. The new things are happening in philosophy, or semiotics, or art. And hence marketing is only an application of some theory somewhere else. This is a book written by a PR guy who said, I am a media manipulator. And it's a fascinating book of how media manipulates news, fake news. This book is about fake news. And if you read it, you might, I kind of read it and said, now I know how Trump became a president. How can, I keep saying, how can Trump become a president? But it can happen because suddenly the conversations are not happening the way. Suddenly something's happening, and before you know, that's become a mainstream conversation. We see it happening everywhere. Whichever side of the political divide you are, fake news is your biggest challenge to make up your mind what's real or what's not. And this book actually talks about a lot of anecdotes, and this guy has actually done it. And then he's become an advocate of, how not to do it. Yeah, and the biggest nugget which I found, and this is a quote from the book or an interview by the guy, he says, the link economy, which means everybody's linked to everyone else maybe, encourages bloggers to repeat what others are saying instead of doing their own reporting, standing behind it. So what he says is, 10 years back or 20 years back, New York Times or Hindu or Times of India, they had beat reporters, and they will be stationed in certain places to report what happens. He says what is today happening is that there are 100 people who are actually in the location. They go there faster than the journalists from the newspapers, and unfortunately the newspapers have either become greedy or they become lazy. So the beat reporter is sitting in his office and he has to write a story about something. He just goes to Google and searches. He's not standing there interviewing people. He's sitting in an office and searching, okay, I have to write something about SSR case. So he'll Google, and then he'll find 25 blogs, tweets. He will go and search everything. And from there, he will write a story. So those guys are not looking at the journalists and writing their blogs. They are going and writing something, good, bad, ugly. Some of them are really good, but many of them are just hearsay and just motivated stuff. But unfortunately, the guys who are sitting in the news channels and they are sitting and saying, oh, what are all these guys saying? I don't want to, there is this word called fear of missing out, FOMO. It's one of the, hottest terminologies, right? So the journalist doesn't want to, oh my God, what if that blogger is true? He's casting some aspersion, but there's some. So I'll just say, that blogger said this blogger said this guy said this. And then he'll say, what do you think? He'll put up a poll or something like that. But what happens then is suddenly your stray comments are getting a much larger audience than they used to get earlier. And before you know, you don't know who is good, who's bad, who's small, who's big, who's authentic, who's not authentic, because everything is getting disseminated in this whole bottom-up, peer-to-peer. Now, that's so much for what is happening in society. But then the challenge for brands is that communication is no longer what the brand said. There is, I would say, an extremely high degree of skepticism. Today, even my maybe 12-year-old son, even when he was 8 years old, you say, oh, that is just an ad, daddy. Oh, that person must have got money too. So people today do not trust top-down communication. People do not trust, AFP, or they don't trust a press release. They don't trust a government minister's interview, because they say, oh no, that's coming from top. No, let me look what's coming bottom up. Let me look what's coming peer to peer. So the brand's thing is not just about how do I make a great advertisement, but it's more about, am I able to trigger and manage conversations around the brand? Because I know it's all going to, and people like maybe Narendra Modi or Donald Trump or anyone who are able to manage public opinion are actually able to manage conversations around themselves better. And when they are unable to do it, they will have a problem. It's not about what I'm saying. It's about all the things that are said about me. And whether as a brand, I'm able to control that conversation. Control is also, I don't know whether you guys know, one of the funniest things that happened, a few years back, I think a political party paid a lot of actors to say something about that party. So that is very good. I love that initiative. And they said, 100 of you tweet together. And it so happened that all 100 of them wrote the same line that was given by the company or the party. And suddenly Twitter went saying, oh, all 100 have been paid, because how can 100 people say the same thing? It means they've been told to say it. So that entire endeavor had zero credibility. It actually backfired on that brand. So it is not just about telling people to say what to say, but managing it. I could have given 100 people 100 messages, because I don't know if those 100 people will have, they might have taken money from me, but whether they will have the patience or the creativity to write something original, I don't know. So it's all about, am I able to manage the conversation? But at a bigger level, managing is one, but am I able to trigger conversation? Like if I'm Baba Ramdev, am I able to trigger conversations about Ayurveda? If I'm, say, a secular party, am I able to trigger a conversation around secularism? That means I'm leading the debate. I am not just managing or responding. So ability of brands to trigger conversations is, I'm spending a lot of time, but it's not easy to do it, but this is what we try to strive for. And consequently, what's happening is that influencers are today becoming maybe more critical than journalists. Journalists are trying to become influencers. There's a company, I used to work with called Grow, which is a mutual fund platform. They got hundreds of influencers to do videos for them. And the videos, and if you look at some of them, the views are crazy. The views are across languages, the views are across age groups, and they're all influencers on finance, personal finance. And they're all saying, how should you invest money? How should you get better returns? And the kind of views, subscribers that they get is unimaginable for a company channel. Yeah, none of them are from the company. None of them, the handle is not Grow. The handle is Dhruv Rati and all those other guys. So and these platforms, if you look, whereas if a company had done the video, the like-dislike number would have not have been like 100:1 or 10:1. It would have been like 70:30, because consumers are not really liking brands to tell you what to do. They want to hear it from authentic, independent sources. And hence, one of the trends, marketing response, I find, is that, PR was always, I always call, they have been the ignored child of marketing. PR was all powerful maybe 50, 60 years back, before advertising and television. But today what's happened is there's kind of the clock going back, and it's almost like reimagining public relations, but as an influencer engagement program. Who manages influencers? PR was always given to one person, PR manager. And that person used to, in our companies, always used to have the easiest job. All he had to do was go once in a while, wine and dine someone. Pretty much, very low intellect sometimes compared to marketing, media. Because what is there in PR? You just got to go and, so I don't know what PR guys do really. But actually what has happened, even in those last 50 years, the companies that managed PR very well never managed PR through a PR department. The company CEO used to manage PR. Like I used to work for TVS Motor Company. Venu Srinivasan used to know all the journalists on a first name basis. the leading auto journalist could call Venu Srinivasan or the vice president R&D and talk to them. They could tell him, hey, Venu, I don't like your motorbike. And Venu will respond. Venu will call his design guy and saying, hey, this journalist called me. He doesn't like our bike. Can you look into it? So that is the degree of intimacy between companies and influencers. But very few people did it. Today, I just got this, who owns the relationship with influencers? PR manager, community manager, CEO, digital marketing manager, content manager, others. But it could be your head of technology. Like there are people, like if let me think of, say, if I'm going to be a company like say Zerodha or Grow, which is a fintech company. Now there are going to be journalists about finance. They might want to talk to my finance expert, not my marketing guy. Because my marketing guy is not going to be able to satisfy the intellectual curiosity of a finance blogger. There might be a tech blogger who's writing about the fintech company. He might want to talk to my UX specialist or my tech person. So my vice president technology has to engage with the tech blogger. There might be certain other bloggers who might actually want to talk to someone like a community manager. So what happens is every industry has very different kind of, in the old world of PR, we used to call it the beat. Every newspaper, he handles the politics beat, entertainment beat, the human relations beat. Similarly, PR, the bloggers also have their areas of interest. And it's very important that they are able to find somebody in the company that they are able to relate with. Otherwise, the relationship will not be fruitful. So for me, one big action area that comes in this whole world is, what is the influencer engagement program, which could possibly have a very, very strong chances of companies being able to trigger and manage conversations. There are agencies to help, but then, like I said, at the end of the day, the management has to be done by the company. Now, going on to the same thing, right, which, so like I said, 100 videos, influencers, there is also a high degree of information overload, and less dependent on advertising as a source of information. So you're today having a lot of people talking about permission marketing. This is not a word that I've heard till 2000, maybe 14 or 15. It's almost like, what gives you the permission to think you can talk to a consumer? They have to give you permission to intrude into their world. Now, the funny thing is, I showed the social dilemma to my son. I thought, 10 years old guy, he's all into, Fortnite and PUBG and screen time. I said, please see this, understand how companies are manipulating your mind. He saw around an hour of the movie and said, Dad, I know all of this. Why are you showing me this? I know everything. So what is happening is, the smarter the company, the smarter the kids. We are not as naive as our parents were. Our children are not as naive as we are. So the good thing is that the humans are like, the smarter the algorithm, smarter the brain. So which means the company's ability to manipulate consumers are getting lesser, because the consumers are getting smarter. And they say, I know this is advertising. Sorry, I'm ignoring your message. I know you have an influencer management program maybe. So what, some of, one of the videos or the principles I follow a lot in brand is this whole Simon Sinek start with why. I'm sure many of you would have seen this. The essence of it is, he says that a company, unless a company has a purpose that I connect with, I'm not even going to listen to your marketing message. If I think I connect with Baba Ramdev's crusade for Swadesh, I might listen to what he has to say. If I identify with Atmanirbhar or something, I might listen to. If I kind of vibe with, what do you call, this whole secularism is under threat and liberalism is under threat, I will listen to someone. I will maybe vote for your candidate. So a lot of people today want to vibe or understand the philosophy or the underlying beliefs of a brand. And it is not just about politics and religion, it's also about of brands. And so people just do it is not a message about Nike shoe technology. It's a message, it's a philosophy. So I buy into a philosophy and I listen to what you have to say. So lot of advertising and communication, there is a relook saying advertising is maybe just the beginning of a conversation. It's just a foot in the door. It is not going to take me down through the funnel. So most of my work on branding and advertising is telling clients, don't try to do 7 things in your advertisement. Advertisement just gives you, just decide, do you want to go impression to click? You want to go click to this? You want to here to here? A message can only nudge you at one level of the funnel. Yeah, which is why a lot of advertising campaigns of political parties doesn't work. You know, you'll find Amit Shah's booth capture, whatever, constituency by constituency work is actually beating an smart campaign by some other party because they manage the funnel better. And hence, the role of advertising in the way we knew it of TV advertising very often is only the top of the funnel and that's it. So where, you know, like an iPhone, you know, an iPhone, what do you call, shot on an iPhone. They're not saying anything about it. You just know iPhone has got released. What do people do? The minute they see an ad, they will, oh, iPhone has got released, they'll go to Google and they'll check. Then there'll be 100 videos. Then they'll go to Amazon and check. There'll be user reviews. Then they'll go somewhere, then there'll be something. So what is really happening is that an advertisement is just a cue for me to begin my research. Apple has now figured out I don't need to say anything about what I have. Consumers will find out about it in a matter of minutes. I just need to tell my consumers I am there. Oh, you might even find they don't even need to do this through a hoarding. There are bloggers they'll just do a blogger video conference and then the bloggers tell the world iPhone is here. So suddenly the role of advertisement becomes a lot. It just insights, maybe just creates curiosity. Guess the specs and win a OnePlus. They are not even telling you what the specs are. They know you'll find out. They'll know you'll find out before you are supposed to find out. And hence the advertisement is just saying, okay, chalo guys, you know, let the game begin. I don't know, many of you would have heard about the Mahindra Thar. Much before the official launch, we knew about it because of bloggers and PR and all that kind of stuff. So and they got some huge number of bookings. Java had a huge amount of bookings well before the launch because all they did was create the curiosity. This is one of the most talked about campaigns in the recent past where Burger King released a video. It is kind of like a time-lapse video of what happens to a burger over 45 days or something like that. And only around the 20th day did the fungus start forming on the burger. And they actually said that fungus will form, but in our burger, it will only form, but they showed burgers with fungus. They showed their own burgers with fungus after, but they said day 1, day 2, day 3, fresh, then 15, 20, 25, and then it became uneatable. People said, boss, how could a food company do this? It's so yuck. And a lot of people said, no, this is fine. I mean, I need to know what happens in Burger King. So there is a lot of interest in authenticity. I need to know what happens. I need to know if there is a video about like, you know, that guy, I think Bear Grylls or something with Narendra Modi, people want to see how is his man, how is his house? You know, where does he go every day? You know, how does he wake up? I would like to see him do yoga. I like to see, you know, how the brand internal culture is. I would like to see where your factories are. So there is a lot of interest today in authentic because people want to look beyond the facade. They are very keen on seeing behind the message. There is a lot of value for purpose, evangelizing a purpose beyond flashy advertising. So Patagonia, I heard, is one of the coolest brands in Silicon Valley. It's an apparel brand, but all they do is they just evangelize some, you know, climate change and stuff. And they are very cool apparel. They don't do any kind of conventional apparel advertising. This is the Patagonia's campaign. Facing extinction, strike for climate action. What is it? But they just do apparel and nothing else. They are just an apparel company. And you find increasingly a lot of brands, you know, they don't go as extreme as Patagonia, But even mainstream companies like Unilever, for a long time, they've been going behind this whole purpose-driven marketing and values. And this whole, Baba Ramdev is entirely this. He's never done, shampoo makes your hair silky. He just said Swadeshi, yoga, and then he sells everything from jeans to noodles. And there are a lot of other companies in that about evangelizing a purpose. And finally, advertising just as entertainment. I don't know whether you guys saw this campaign. It's like a few weeks old, few days old, but it's done by this company called Cred, where they actually had Anil Kapoor and Madhuri Dixit, Bappi Lahiri coming and trying to act in an ad for the company and doing a very bad job. And then the company guy says, why are we paying all these guys? Yeah, why don't we just say Cred is good? And then these guys walk away in anger because the companies told them, thank you, I don't need you. And that is the ad. The ad is we called in celebrity and asked them to say something. They said so badly. So we just sent them away and over. And there is a lot of virality to the video, a lot of people agreeing, disagreeing, but then they've got the attention. They've got the impression and the clicks. And this is all very new. And it's like, picture, baki hai, those kind of a thing. There are a lot of such things are going to be happening in advertising where it's not going to take you all the way through a funnel. But then all of this is still advertising. So there is still content. We've all heard that content is king, and what is beyond advertising? Like I see this happening. There's another company I used to consult for a few years back. A company like Upgrad, they do ads also. But if you look at their social channel, they are doing talks, they're doing webinars, they're calling experts. So there's a lot of conversation that the brand is triggering. Like if you take, it's a joke that, almost every day we have a certain webinar. Where today when the Thai said you're going to be there for a webinar, I said, oh my God, I hope will people come because they must be going to so many webinars. But what is happening is there's a lot of content competing for our attention, and brands are actually got a very methodical calendar of doing it. Like I told you, a company like Grow, their content is a lot of influencer videos. Today, you looked at LinkedIn and brands on LinkedIn. An ad on LinkedIn or Facebook is not as effective as a content there. So when I put in fact, what Upgrad used to tell me is that if I advertise a webinar, I possibly get a better ROI than my advertising my course. But through the webinar, I'm going to advertise my course, of course. So there is a lot of these things happening where content is what is getting people's attention and advertising is becoming a blind spot. Yeah. For example, there's another company I used to find interesting. Every time I see a blog saying the best place to, what to do when you're in Singapore, the best train journeys in India, 20 places to see before you die, I will always click it. Hey, maybe there's something there, the best hill stations in India, the best homestays ever. And it'll so happen that if I click that blog, there'll be a very good blog, but it'll actually be a blog written by a travel company. And they'll say, by the way, are you traveling? Book here. And then I read the blog and then I kind of book. So a lot of companies today are only marketing through content. There is a company called Acad Guild, which I again used to work with earlier. Every day they used to write a blog about coding. And the blogs are so well written that they used to get a lot of views. And the guys who read the blogs will then click and join a course by Acad Guild. And their acquisition is entirely through the blog. So blogs, YouTube videos, webinars, these are all forms of content that are working maybe far better than advertising. And hence what the media companies are doing is they are actually allowing, now I write a blog, but how many people are going to read my blog? So there are mainstream advertisers that says that, okay, I will take your blog and put it in my news feed. So if you today pay Times of India or India Today or New York Times, they will ensure that your blog, so shopping goes virtual reality will change how you shop. It is not an ad, it's a content. It's a thought leadership, but that's written by Adobe. So it's set from our advertisers. So advertisers are how is art adapted to the internet, written by Tiffany and company. Yeah. So a brand is today, it's today actively encouraged to put out a piece of content that can go as a news article on a news portal. And then, so retail's tech revolution. But this New York Times it's kind of like an advertorial. Yeah, a lot of us are smart. We don't read advertorials, but there are increasing ways for advertorials to become. A lot of Times of India is only paid. You know, we all joke and saying Times of India is just paid news. If you are launching a movie and if you tell Times of India, they will write a favorable review. Yeah, so we all know that. But the just like there is fake news, there is fake ads, and fake ads looks like real news, and that's. And what has happened is New York Times and all publishers are today helping brands do content that is very, very classy. Now, if I have to write a news article, I might not write it as well as Times as a newspaper because I don't have great journalists. So New York Times will give you a journalist to write a content piece for you if you pay them, and they will house it for you, promote it for you, and hopefully through that you get traffic. So you know it's called T brand for New York Times. Vogue has something. Times of India has brand capital. Hindustan Times has something. Maybe the last publication that might do it might be Hindu, but even they will come around. So all publications today, even yesterday I saw a big ad by Instagram in the newspaper that says Instagram now wants to help brands create Instagram stories because you can't do it as well as we can do it. We'll do it for you. So Dove, Dropbox, they're all doing it. BBC is doing it. BBC has something called Storyworks Commercial Production. Okay, one of the things that I told you, brand story. So one of the things I always tell entrepreneurs is do a really good video about yourself. You know, a talk about, in fact, Indian Terrain did a great video. I'm a big fan of Indian Terrain and Venki Rajgopal, who's the, Chennai person, right? So he did a great video about the spirit behind the brand. And it got a lot of attention and built a lot of respect for the brand. But I used to tell them that do it like BBC would do it. I said, don't do a bad testimonial that will really spoil it, but do a brand video like BBC. If they were to cover you, and now they're actually doing it. So BBC, National Geographic, all of them are willing to today come and do a brand video for you. And hence maybe you can get it done by them. For example, when I was doing this research, I said, Taboola is one of they call it native advertising. If you pay Taboola, they will help you place your blogs in mainstream publications and looks like news. But when I was trying to find more about Taboola, they said, download my ebook now. So suddenly ebook is becoming a way to market. So just like there's a blog or a video, a lot of companies also use ebooks and you download an ebook and then you kind of get converted to their philosophy. Yes, we saw this. So content today can be a video, webinars, blogs, content partnerships with BBC, native ads like Taboola, ebooks, lots. And these are just like, there are even more, I would say, almost insidious way of plugging content that's going to be coming. Like, for example, there are people who will put your brand inside a game. And my kids come to know because the game has that brand. And lots of these integrations are happening, but that's all content. And what is interesting, I just kind of randomly took an example of Microsoft, is that your content suddenly starts assuming an importance beyond just one blog here, one video there. It actually becomes like a program. So recently Microsoft had something, this whole post-COVID reimagine, and they've done, their website has something. They've released a report which you can download from their website. Then they've gone ahead and done a series of blogs and content on reimagining society, economy, work, education. They've written blogs around it. They're having webinars by thought leaders on this. There are on-demand episodes. Then they have YouTube videos, and then they have LinkedIn posts. So suddenly what happens is that your content strategy has suddenly become a program. It is not about writing a blog. It's about what is your systematic way to keep putting out content in a way that is all encompassing and all pervasive. Yeah, like it's a this in my mind, there are companies that just do this very well. B2B companies, many of you might be running a B2B company. Microsoft, IBM, SAP, Adobe, they're all mastering this whole content strategy where they are all the time trying to influence decision makers and just telling them, we are there, we are there, we are there, come download, see me, hear me. And obviously they are getting some result. If they don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Okay, so all what happens is there is a lot of communication overload. And because of this, there is a, brands, even before digital, when it was just advertising, there were hundreds of ads. And only very few brands kind of get remembered and top of mind recall and all keeps happen. So this whole war for attention. So what the brand, the brand's advice in this world is be very, very, very consistent. Don't go with the, don't have a herd mentality. Oh, COVID, I have to do something for COVID. Oh, Diwali, I have to do something. Oh, I have to do something for Christmas. What happens is, and the brand loses any sense of character. I keep telling you, recently one of my clients did a happy Gandhi Jayanti post. I said, don't do it. There are 100 people to wish people on Gandhi Jayanti. Your purpose is not wishing people for Gandhi Jayanti. Somebody else can do it. You stick to your purpose. If your purpose is women's empowerment, just talk about women's empowerment. If your purpose is climate change, just talk about climate change. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Lot of consistency. Second, lot of regularity. I cannot say, oh yeah, I wrote a blog 3 months back, but I'm too busy to write a blog. Then you're out. You're not going to make a cut. You have to be regular. And you have to say things that are relevant. Don't say very, very bland stuff. That can actually do a lot of harm. So the challenge is consistency and regularity still being relevant. Yeah, it's a bit like, it's like Rajnikant. He has to have a movie every year. Consistent. It has to be a Rajni movie, but it has to be new. It cannot be, oh no, this is rehash of his old movie, failed. So a lot of rock bands today do it. If you're a rock band or any artist, you have to be consistent, regular, but you still have to be relevant. And that's the challenge. So brands like Nike, they have mastered the art of consistency, relevance, and regularity. If you look at, this is a brand that I worked with recently, Java motorbikes, very consistent content. There's a certain look and feel. They have a certain point of view. They're trying to be very different from Royal Enfield, but regular, consistent, relevant content. And most importantly, content is not just what you say, but what you do. Yeah. For example, I don't know whether this is very self-explanatory. It is, I'm not saying, be a man or ride a Java or Java is very good. I'm not saying things. I'm saying, hey, we were at Leh Ladakh. We went and met the Indian Army and gave them a free bike. We went to Czechoslovakia and spoke to the founder of Java. We are having, we are having a new color. We are launching this new Perak. So my content is very often a journal of my actions. So IBM, we are building a new quantum future. They are showcasing some new machine that they've done. They're highlighting a talk that they had. If it's time to redistribute wealth, looks like a message, but there'll be an action behind that message. All of this is IBM's post. So what you'll find is that whenever many of you will be saying, hey, we should have a Facebook strategy. It doesn't mean you hire an agency and say, keep putting a post. It means that, do you as a brand, are you doing regular actions that has social relevance? That has people remembering you, talking about you? Are your actions as engaging and regular as you want your brand to be? So are you staying in the news? Are you making news? It is not just about paying an agency to put a post, which is why Narendra Modi, I find, is very smart about content. He'll pray at a temple, he'll go somewhere, he'll sit in a cave, he will wave to people out of this one, he's talking to the army. His social media is all about what he does. Yeah, and everybody does it, not only him, he's learning from others who do it better than him. But your social content calendar has to be a journal of your actions, but the actions have to be consistent. So when he's doing all of this, he's very clear what message he's giving. There might be saffron, there might be pride, there might be whatever the message, there is consistency, there is relevance, and there is regularity. So one of the big things in the digital world is, what's your content strategy? What is your content calendar? And finally, I love this word called a dashboard. Which is better? So if I were Modi, I'll say, my waving to people in a train, no, I got too much negative comments, I'll never do it again. That one worked, I'm going to do that more. So you're always reacting to the data that comes back and moderating what you will do more of and what you will do less of. Okay, now kind of taking a jump away. The earlier was a lot about what I'm doing, but where do I do it? When I was preparing for the session, I just Googled digital marketing trends 2020. I said, I have to speak to this bunch of people and I should know what they might find out on their own. And I was just lost in a maze of information. This is happening, that is happening, this is learned, that's. And then one of my friends sent me a document saying what is happening to Gen Z. And then it was like an overload. I just couldn't process it. I mean, I don't have bandwidth to take in so much information because every day things are happening out there. The Gen Z document, suddenly I said, genie, bunch, unfold, low motive, thriller. Do these, I mean, I didn't know any of these. And then all of these are apps which apparently are the big thing for Gen Z. There is an app just gives you a skin for a game, something that helps you socialize gaming, something that helps you create a story, something that is better than TikTok. I'm saying whether you're our age or younger, older, this is going to be an overload of information because so much is happening. So media options will keep growing faster than you can keep track of and understand. You cannot be smarter than everyone else. And, I don't know about, I mean, I always have, if I have to focus on something, I have to shut out 10 other things. And a lot of media options is going to look like noise. So it's not just about digital. When I used to be a marketing person in Unilever, I used to have 25 channels coming to me and saying, we are doing 10 shows and this show is very popular and this actor is very popular, do this, sign this up. And very often what you find is it's very easy to let the tail wag the dog. I advise business owners that don't entertain channels to come and talk to you because they will keep selling you, this is a big thing, this is the next big thing, and they'll take away all your money. Because you will never be able to have a little bit of sanity into this whole planning because you're just, everything looks interesting. Ye karo, wo karo, ye karo, and then you're lost. So for me, one of the critical things for business owners is navigating this maze and having what is called a channel strategy. I have a content strategy. I know what I have to do, but where do I do it? That is called the channel strategy. And good old principles, Unilever days, is begin with the hypothesis. Approach it from the consumer's end. If I approach it from the supplier's end, I get lost because everything, all of them are talking to my consumer. But I'll go back and say, what is my consumer doing? And I can do a lot of consumer research. That's worth it. If I do a lot of media research, I'll get totally confused. That's a subject by itself. I mean, it will distract me from my job. My job is to make my consumer's life better. So see the media world through your consumer's eyes. Don't see the consumer through your media's eyes. That's, I would say, the big masterclass gyan of the day. See the world from your consumer. Don't see the consumer from your media. So for example, I just did this. I mean, this is not rockets. I mean, it is not cast in stone. There are certain categories that are discretionary, certain categories that are mandatory. Certain categories sensorial, certain categories that are non-sensorial. For example, consulting, discretionary, non-sensorial. Education, discretionary, non-sensorial. Luxury apparel, discretionary but sensorial. Mandatory but sensorial could be something like food. Mandatory non-sensorial insurance, car insurance. You have to get it, just a chore. Medical services. So each of your categories might have a very, very different meaning and context to the consumer. So if I'm a car insurance brand, I can't look at something Nike is doing and say I want to do it, because they are discretionary and sensorial, and I'm mandatory but non-sensorial. So I'm not saying this is the only framework, but frameworks like this will help you understand what kind of engagement and media should I do. Should I, for example, I find a lot of insurance companies coming on Facebook and saying that, you need to insure your life. I would bet my money that, they'll never have the same engagement as an apparel company that comes on Facebook and says, buy my shirt. Who wants to look at, life insurance on Facebook? But they might have to find their own avenues to do what they have to do. So for some company, a blog will work better. For some company, search works better. For some company, visual mediums like Instagram works better. Stuff, different kind of videos work for some, different kind of videos work for another. So it's almost like my way of navigating this maze is that I don't know, like some of my clients will come and ask me that, do you think we should do a video? You said Grow has done great video. Should we also do a video? I say, I don't know. They have done something. Do you think we should do? I don't know. The good part about digital is you can always find out if it works or not by saying, is that medium relevant for my category? Is there a natural fit between the medium and the category? Are my competitors doing it? If they are doing a lot of it, that already tells me there is some intelligence there. If none of my competitors are doing it, there must be a reason. If I am Cover Fox and if LIC doesn't do it, maybe LIC has figured out something I have not, or vice versa. So one of the things I kind of do is this whole, this kind of stuff. Okay, if somebody comes to me and says something and say, yeah, maybe there is merit, do something, spend a small amount of money and see whether you're getting an impression at a lower cost. Are you getting a click-through rate better than what you were doing earlier? Are you getting conversions better than what you were doing earlier? And all of this then tells me, yeah, this medium is good. I don't know if TikTok is good or bad, but I'll try. I'll put 20,000 rupees in TikTok. But then I need to measure it, otherwise I'll lose it. I need to calibrate. I cannot give them all my marketing monies on a punt, on a gut. No, then I'll be foolish. It might not work and they've lost all the money. So digital allows you to do very, very limited experiments. So do limited experiments and measure. And come back and compare with what you were doing on some more traditional medium. And then that tells you, that is a way for you to navigate the maze. There are some people I'll say straight off refuse. Sorry, you don't fit. My consumer grid, you are nowhere. I'm a sensorial brand. You are too non-sensorial for me. Thank you very much. But if there are 25 sensorial options, you'll say, okay, I'll take 10 of them and try. Try with some limited amounts and then see if your budgets allow, if you're able to do enough of it. Over time, the good news is that if you do a reasonable amount of experiments, you will identify that this medium works guaranteed. And then over time, that then becomes your, you kind of hit a steady state reasonably quickly. So that's, I mean, it's a very, I would say a very straight-jacketed way of managing the maze. So if somebody says, what's the maze, do you think I should do? I say, show me your dashboard. Show me your comparison of CPI. That's all. I don't say anything else. Do you think Lee motif will work? Show me the CPI. I'll do it and I'll check if it works. It works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's all we need to do. So media level allocations It's all about, what is a blended cost per lead? What is a medium-wise engagement? And for example, you might find that SEO is very, very cost effective, but SEO plateaus off. Search is very good, but only up to, so search worked for me till I grew from 0 crore to 10 crore. But 10 to 20 crore search is not taking me because the search volumes plateau. Search works only if people are searching for you. Similarly, once I've reached there, if I do something along with it, then in my stage 2, that works better. So I find a lot of sophistication in marketing, which I go right back to this old, what I told you about marketing metrics and understanding them, analyzing them. This whole area of media level allocations is pretty much the body of marketing over time. This is the boring every day, every week, every month part of marketing. And that is a lot about data analysis and optimizing. Okay, all this is fine. So many of these things I found very often gets you leads. But what about conversions? Yeah, search will give you a lead. Facebook, Instagram gives you a lead. But conversion, like I said, the funnel has a very funny way of what happens there. What you find is there's all discovery, understand, evaluate, transact, engage, lifetime value. So many of these in different categories have different. People buy soaps differently. People buy B2B. You might hire a law firm, then whole thing works very differently. You might be buying an airline ticket, works differently. So one of the things you'll find is mediums have different relevance at different ends of the spectrum. Like for example, if I were a car insurance brand, I find car deko, car wale might, because a lot of evaluation is happening there. People don't go to a car website and evaluate, unfortunately. They very often go to car deko and evaluate. A lot of understanding. I placed the lead for the Mahindra Thar. I would expect a WhatsApp message with the brochure. Because I go to the website and the website is not very useful. It's not good. I will spend a minute, go back. Then I've forgotten about, then I go to some other brand. If they were to send me a very good PDF, I will watch. There's great video on WhatsApp, I'll watch. Transaction, maybe on the website, maybe a dealership, post engagement. So one of the things is almost every brand that you guys handle, if you're able to say, what is my media strategy by the stage of the funnel, you will then be able to manage it in a slightly more meaningful manner. But that is more the framework. But what is happening is today, digital innovations are creating new consumer pathways. Yeah, today Facebook allows you to transact. WhatsApp is giving you updates on, so my movie ticket, I just save it on my WhatsApp message. And so many other things. So, I mean, I'm not even, you might know more about this than me because everybody has a different experience on digital. But the bigger thing is new consumer pathways are getting created every day. I read a blog that said Domino's experimented with 15 ways to order a pizza. And then said these 2 ways work better than the other 13. So for each of your businesses, you have to say chatbot works, or can I explore WhatsApp, or can I do this, or can I do an SMS, or does an email work, or should I do an app rather than a website? You can never say that my way of engagement is the best unless you actually experiment with all the possible ways. If your competitor has found out another way and they do a better job, then you might lose a significant amount of market share. So the conversion pathway, thankfully, the conversion pathways will not be 200, but there might be at least 10 to 15 or at least 3 or 4 that you might want to do before you say, like, for example, I know a lot of companies depend on telecallers, but then there are companies like Grow, which doesn't encourage, they don't have even a phone number, and they also grow. So so will a call work? Like sometime back, Flipkart or Myntra did this big thing. They said, we are shutting down the website. We are an app only company. Maybe, maybe not. So is an app better? Should I have an app and a website, or should I only do a website, not this? Should I have a telecaller or not? Should I have Facebook commerce? Should I open a store on Facebook? Lot of decisions. But, in my mind, one of the things, in fact, I always tell, if a youngster comes and tells that, hey, uncle, I'd like to do marketing, I tell them, maybe you should not do marketing, you should do UX design. Because there is so much work happening on digital design and user interaction, which I find is a lot more, intellectually challenging just marketing. Companies like Uber and Amazon were not developed by marketing guys. They were developed by app designers and, UX experts. Yeah. Like Grow, for example, the entire user interaction is online. There is no avenue for you to call. They believe that a call breaks the funnel. So they've gone the other extreme and saying, I will only allow one way of downloading anything. And people are investing lakhs of money through Grow, and they've never spoken to anyone. Have you ever spoken to anybody from Uber? Never. You downloaded the app. Have you ever spoken to anyone from Paytm? Never. You put lakhs of money through Paytm today. So today people are engaging in ways that are very, very surprising. And it is a lot about how the consumer is making your pathway smooth. This is not technically marketing, but I would say this is maybe the most important part of the funnel. If this is bad, your marketing is all money down the drain. So for every business, this is possibly the most, I would say, where the CEO, some time back, I was doing an interview of banking chiefs. What is Chanda Kochar saying? What is the SBI chairman saying? All of them saying, we want to make banking seamless. We want to make banking tech friendly. Click of a button. But banks are doing it. Amazon has already done it. Cab companies are doing it. Food companies are doing it. Travel companies are doing it. What is left? So every company today needs to get a lot more user friendly, and sky is the limit. I was thinking, why would I want to tap and pay? But today, once you started tapping and paying, you're not going to punch anything. That looks like too much work. Once you've done this, you're not going to call anyone. No, I can't call. That's too much work. So, a long story short, the last stage of conversion is extremely critical, and it is all about digital design and consumer pathways design. So conversion analysis, I just calling it a pathway design, whatever terminology. And what is happening is, because of all this, consumer behavior is changing. I just went to TiECON and suddenly found TiECON selling car insurance, and they're saying health insurance also. I mean, where did they begin and where are they gone? And the job is not yet done. Paytm is today doing share investments. So no brand is willing to accept a Lakshman Rekha. Everybody is going. Facebook is going beyond. Instagram is going beyond. Google has gone beyond. TiECON has gone beyond. And it's just going to be more of the same. So consumer behavior is changing. Today, there are companies that allows me to rent a mobile phone, like Rento Mojo. Companies are allowing me to change my skin. And there is this whole social gaming. Today, one of my friends came home and saw my son playing on Fortnite. And I say, who's your son talking to? He's saying he's talking to all his friends on the PS4. So technology is changing consumer behavior. Yeah. Uber says, would you like to rate your driver? Would you try to give him a compliment? When have I ever given a compliment? But would you like to tip a driver? Would you like to tip a delivery boy? So consumer behavior is changing. Have I written a review? So I am today tipping people, writing reviews. My behavior is changed because of what Uber or Swiggy allows me to do. I'm maybe eating pizza because technology is allowing me to eat a pizza. Yeah, I'm eating biryani in a box or whatever you call it. So digital innovations are changing behavior. Earlier, communication changed behavior. Now digital pathways are changing behaviors. I am ordering pizza for my mother because in another city because I can do it. So Domino's, technology changes, so do consumer expectations. Consumers are impatient, standards are unforgiving. So the big rule, 15 ways, he says, build, test, learn, repeat. For us, the key has been running lots of small scale innovations, learning along the way better. Like I said, Amazon, Uber, Swiggy, Domino's, all the companies, Paytm, the companies that are movers and shakers in a digital world, they do this better than anyone else. They do this better than Unilever and Asian Paints and Ashok Leyland and all those other legacy companies. So the biggest company do this better than anyone else. And that's been my experience dealing with all these young Turks. And I can never grudge them their success because they are actually very, very smart engineers running a lot of experiments and doing this faster than anyone else. Continuous innovations, permanent beta. So when I look at a company and I look at their innovation plans and the pace of their innovation, all the things in the funnel, I would pretty much know whether they are going to be the winners or the losers. If they are putting all their bets on one and trying to look at marketing ideas, I know that they are going to very shortly wind up. So continuous innovation, permanent beta, control, this is pretty much for me what separates the men from the boys. And even in advertising, so companies like Netflix, apparently they do a lot of, which image works better. I don't know. Earlier I had to choose. Now I just do an A/B test. Facebook, all these companies, they just keep on doing experiments with us. That's what Social Dilemma told us. Every day as they are marketing, they are also experimenting. And the better experiment goes faster. If you like seeing the pictures of pretty dogs, you will keep seeing pretty pictures of pretty dogs. That's it. And they don't take it for granted. If you like seeing some kind of music, they'll show you more of that kind of music. So how do they know? They know because they test, and they're always testing, and they never rest. I always suspected it, but once I researched, Uber does an app upgrade every, I don't know, I'm not able to see the last column. Every 15 days, there's an upgrade of the Uber app. We have to do a website redesign. We will do it once in 2 years. Our website is 2 years old. You're competing with someone who's changing their app every 2 weeks. Huge. This is for me paradigm shift. Everything else is still incremental. These kind of things is a change in the way we approach. I cannot change my showroom design maybe every year. By the way, I don't know if any of you are running a restaurant. I've heard that if you don't change your restaurant ambience every year, you might go out of business, because that is the cost of being in business. Today, you can change an app every 2 weeks. And the cost of staying in business is your digital interface has to be updated at least at a monthly level. If it is not being updated at a monthly level, you're going to go back. Your conversion is going to work. Because a lot of your digital learnings are not getting applied in the later stages of the funnel. So dynamic CX, customer experience. Median days between app updates in a category, I don't know. Games, 10 days. Shopping, 6 days. Social networking. Photo, video apps like Instagram. Entertainment, Book My Show. Music, your iTunes, Spotify. Every 10 days, they are doing an app update. This is pretty much, for me, huge. I mean, whenever I tell companies, I say, because marketing, what will happen is you're going to churn out a lot of data. But all the data, I tell companies that if you cannot digest the data, you'll have, you'll have indigestion problem. You'll have sugar problem. You have to digest the data, and the digestion happens through your product and your experience. Otherwise, you're going to get fat. So marketing and CX. Yeah, marketing and CX development, in my mind, one of the big changes today is marketing and CX development have to work very, very closely together. Unilever, TVS Motor Company, marketing and innovation have always worked close. So the kind of motorbikes or the soaps that this company do are heavily driven by marketing input. But today we need to apply that principles to customer experience development. And customer experience is not mobile app. Customer experience could be your call center. Customer experience could be your packaging. Customer experience could be your SMS that goes, your email interaction, your content strategy, your Facebook page. All of this, unfortunately, is all CX. And unless you look at CX as a comprehensive, I am happy changing marketing department to customer experience department. No problem. Marketing is a subset of customer experience. Like I said, advertising is only the top end of the funnel. By calling it marketing, if you are giving undue importance to the top end of the funnel, you are possibly doing a disservice. Customer experience definitely includes CRM. If CRM is going to be your ignored child, again, you'll have a problem. And consequently, what's happening is that there's a lot of customer diversity, generations, income levels, languages. Yeah, I met the Flipkart owners in a seminar like this around a year back, and I was blown. I did a talk in a seminar and said, brand messaging should be single. You should do one ad, be consistent. Flipkart came and said, we are doing 100 ads. I said, oh my God, either I must be wrong or they must be wrong. I think mostly I was wrong. So every time Amazon does a communication campaign, they are doing hundreds of ads. A year back, Flipkart created 3 million personalized digital ads for their one sale. And they were actually inspired by Alibaba, who apparently does even more. So I'm stopping to look at consumer as 1 to 100. I'm looking at consumers as every individual. And that's why today, I know they have a screen there that if any of you opens Netflix, your Netflix screen is going to be different from my Netflix screen. Your Google is not my Google. You search for something, your results are different from my results. And hence, there is nothing that says that when you open an Indian terrain website, it can be different from the website of Indian terrain that I open. Personalization has paid dividends at every level of the funnel. Yeah. You know that. So when I open, I know this is what you watch, this is what you'll watch. If they know I watch something, they'll show me that. And that's what is actually proving to be game changers. Amazon entirely personalized. I buy something, hey, you bought this last time, you might like this. My history is also there. So yesterday, again, I was ordering food for my son. I said, hey, which pizza do you want? He said, go to Swiggy, look at my history, order the same pizza again. He doesn't even have the patience to tell me what, because he says it's there and he knows the history has it. And hence I'm now sticky to Swiggy. Because if I move to another platform, my history is lost. So lots of things are at play here. And hence, if you are able to really tie them up as a company, you will make them much more reluctant to go to the next guy and vice versa. And hence, this brings me to this part of, I always look at this as the ignored child of marketing, which is CRM. We call it loyalty program, points program. And I find it, one of my clients called it the capillary program. Why? Because capillary is the agency that manages the CRM. How can you call it your relationship program, the capillary program? It's your relationship program. Gurus here, and I know in the earlier thing, personalizing, the gurus are your Flipkart. CRM, I think the gurus are banks. Amex, very, very, any of your, they know how to manage relationships. They were the first companies to have relationship managers, wealth program. Yeah, they know how to treat a corporate customer is different from a Ray customer. NRA is different from. So banks are normally they don't come in mind when you call great marketers, but they are extremely good at the lowest end of the last end of the funnel, which is relationship management. We all love our bank manager. So Burgundy, this, that, retail, like Shopper Stop, they've started doing this whole, what do you call, they had the First Citizen program, now they call First Citizen Black. Yeah, so there is a lot of learning. Now the question is, any of your businesses, you might have 1,000 customers, but are you treating your 900 customers equal to your top 100? If you're doing it, then your top 100 are going to move. If you're being too democratic about, so I don't know, many of you in Chennai would be followers of your Chennai weatherman or Tamil Nadu weatherman. Facebook says top fan. Prasanna guitar, top fan. Why are they doing it? because the top fan of Prasanna guitar or Tamil Nadu weatherman wants to be acknowledged as a top fan, and I want to be treated differently. If tomorrow Prasanna wants to gift a small CD, he can't gift it to all his fans, but he might give it to top fans, and I then become more strongly bonded to him. What are the privileges you're giving to your customers? And because digital, now what is the connection between CRM and digital? Before digital, CRM meant, if any of you have a Sundaram Finance account, once a year they'll invite you to some classical concert in Kamaraj Hall or something like that. But because of online, your ability to reward your users is a lot more varied, interesting, cheaper. So that there is a much more win-win. So what can you give them by virtue of being digital? You can give them a scratch card. You can give them some exclusive access to a webinar and so many other things. So Zero allows you zero cost engagement possibilities with your customers. Are you using them? And that's the message for CRM. So I just kind of, what all I said, you can do so many things. Like I said, each of them is like a lot of work. Sometimes it's like sometimes marketing can look at the dumbest of things, and sometimes it can look like the most, complex of subjects with a lot of work to do. But, in my mind, there is a lot of work to be done in marketing. And it's like, that's why guys like us remain in marketing, because it's like so many things to be done. But, it could look like a lot of work. You might say, I'm just an entrepreneur. I do my marketing myself. I just have one person to do it. How can I do a lot of stuff? So in my mind, like it's not as difficult as it sounds if you're smart about it. Yeah. And like I said, Flipkart became Flipkart with maybe 2 people doing marketing who are not even MBAs or never done stints in Unilever or whatever. So if it was so complicated, they wouldn't have cracked it before us. So it is actually simple. It's about, do you have the right competencies? Do you have the right support ecosystem? Do you have the right process? Do you have the right culture? If you have some of these, then the system learns by itself. Like I said, the first competency in marketing I've given importance is, are you a customer-led company or a supplier-led company? Yeah, if you're too led by Google said this, Facebook said this, my agency said this, my consultant said this, as compared to I know what my consumer wants. And a consumer-led approach is not an assumption-led approach. I know my consumer. Because your consumer 3 years back is not your consumer today. Because the consumer, so are you consistently, intimately connected to your consumer, so that you are not falling prey to your own assumptions of the consumer. And that will allow you to look beyond the hype. And it also allows you the facility like Netflix or Facebook to continuously develop and test hypotheses. Hey, do you think my consumer might like a call center more than a chatbot? Don't assume, test. And if your consumers by data prefer chatbot more than the call center, please invest more in your chatbot. Or else do the other. If it is 50-50, keep both open. Again, data analysis. Today, marketing guys, if they are data challenged, will be not comfortable in marketing. They, a lot of the purely softer skills, they might be good in advertising, design. There are a lot of other career options, but growth marketing, you need to be, and data analysis is not just by looking at numbers. It's about what is macro, what is micro. Very often I tell my clients, don't look at data that way, look at this. Don't look at that number, look at this number. Let your junior look at this number, as a CEO look at that number. So knowing, because if you look at the wrong data, you will get thoroughly confused and insecure, because you're not meant to look at it. If as a patient, I look at everything my doctor looks at, I might have a premature heart attack. I'm not meant to look at the certain data. So I need to know what my doctor should look at, what I should look at. Are you able to synthesize multiple sources of information? Facebook and Google data very often will be directly conflicting because their data is meant to support their business. If you're only looking at one versus the other, you might be totally, falling victim to a marketing company. Are you able to integrate your sources with your own sales? If you're not able to do it, there'll be a huge disconnect. So very often sales information system, marketing information system, please integrate. Your marketing sales reviews, try to integrate. And very often a dashboard for say the human mind has only so much capability to look at data. So for me, I look at a dashboard as your ability to make a choice to say, what will I look at every time? What will my subordinate look at? What will my agency look at? That also makes your life simpler. A dashboard simplifies life. And a competency that you can develop is also about continuously being able to say, am I able to identify a problem? Like I said, if you're not if you're, in MBA, they used to say, what's the problem? If you jump to a solution before a problem, they say you're not a good manager. So if somebody is coming to you with a solution, you step back and say, what's the problem? And somewhere I saw this, if you're looking at data, you said the data only tells you the what. Data will tell you what. Your analysis is so what. Data tells me what, but I have to ask, so what? I should not stop with that. Then I said, now what? Now what should I do? Never stop with the what of the data. Please do the so what and the now what. When somebody presents to me data, I don't look at it if I say, unless I see what is the so what. If they have not written the so what, I assume they are a bad manager. And if they have not written the now what, I believe that the actions are not clear. And this gives you a way to look at data. Never look at data without the analysis and the action implications. Okay, some of the softer elements. Because marketing will always have messaging, always look at the creative appropriateness of the message. Don't take a TV ad and put on YouTube. Don't take a 30-second ad and put as a pre-roll on YouTube. Don't take something works on TikTok or Instagram, put on. So content has to be tailored to the medium. A lot of people write blogs, but they'll write a blog like they're writing a theoretical paper. A blog has to be written very differently. A blog cannot be written like your academic paper. The information is the same, but a blog has a certain aesthetic, a certain purpose. Yeah, don't write a Facebook post that looks like a leaflet. No, leaflet has to be stuck on a wall and people come to the wall and read it. Facebook has a certain different, you read it on a phone. So each medium has a purpose and an aesthetic. So whenever you're looking at creative feedback, one is to say, I like this ad, I don't like this ad. But is it appropriate for the medium? Keep questioning, you will find the answers. And a critical decision. Okay, all this, what are going to be your in-house capabilities? What do we outsource? It's like a make or buy decision. People ask me, do I need to have 2 people in marketing or 10-member marketing team? Or can I have 1 person and then an agency? Should I have 2 agencies? This is a critical decision, no right or wrong answers, but you ask that question and you will come to that. What I normally tell people is strategy and control has to be in-house, preferably at the senior levels in the company. Specialist skills has to be outsourced. I always discourage people from hiring creative people in-house or a writer or a graphic designer. I say those guys will flower and bloom when they're in an agency. But you hire an agency because he will also work on other jobs. Use him when you want that skill. But keep a strategy guy in-house, keep your control in-house so that you are able to, for example, if your creative guy is in-house, you cannot be very critical about evaluating creatives because you're doing it. Like if you are writing your own taglines, you cannot be critical about the tagline because you have written it. But if an agency presents it to you, you can say, I don't like it, write another one. So your specialist skills, unless you are a writer yourself. So specialist skills, keep it at an arm's length away, allows you to keep having the best talent and evaluate it more stringently, and keep control and strategy in-house. So outsource what isn't core. There are horses for courses. There are, like I said, there are companies good at managing influencers, companies good at something or the other, companies good at doing videos. So always keep evaluating your agencies. Be aware of what are the specialist requirements. There are people who write very good blogs, but they can't write good ad copy. Yeah, there are people who are very good at writing more theoretical stuff. They can't do the other stuff. So keep evaluating your agencies, partners, in-house resources for where are they delivering, where, and your dashboard allows you to do it and have the right, but always integrate them. So if you have a great blog writer and somebody else is doing great videos, somewhere they have to talk to each other, understand what they are doing, feed off each other. And hence a lot of cross-functional team management is what you have to be better at doing. And the teams that are good at doing it do better. And finally, the process has to build its own intelligence. Like I said, some session like today is only going to be like the beginning of the whole thing. And you actually become better when you actually do learn, plan, do, check out, a lot of design of experiments. And finally, it's almost like the culture being, like I said, the big input is about your marketing, CRM, UX, all of it is actually working together. And marketing actually seen as something cross-functional teams do rather than marketing department. A lot of marketing decisions should not be taken by the marketing guy. They should be taken by someone who has the visibility to those kind of functions. So it's almost like learning organization is like what would, like I said, Flipkart, Amazon, they were all learning organizations and they cracked it before any of us did. So that kind of, yeah, wow, it's 11:52, so 2 hours. So that brings me to the end of the formal session. What I'll do is, if you give me a minute, I got a question from Srinivas on thoughts on digital marketing landscape for healthcare. Now that's a very broad topic, but I've actually worked with MedLife for around I think almost a year. And what seems to be happening, I mean, the online pharmacy market is growing. A lot of information search across categories is today entirely, we all call ourselves Google doctors. So, there is a lot of, I think, digital influence on healthcare will definitely be high because the natural consumer tendency is to search online. Like, I've been doing a lot of these online calls and I've been having eye issues. I'm not going to a doctor. I'm just Google searching videos, searching blogs on what should I do? How should I handle my eyes? Eye strain and stuff like that. So there is one of my friends, they have launched a very successful chat bot for psychological counseling, depression counseling. And it's apparently really making waves. A lot of depression patients just download the app and talk to a chat bot and feel better. I mean, I find it really weird, but they're doing it. So, so digital marketing for healthcare seems to be working. There are certain policies of Google and Facebook that does not allow very free marketing. So there are certain ethical policies of platforms that is thankfully controlling certain things. So that is good. But short of it, a lot of innovations are happening on digital. What are the parameters you use to measure ROI on digital marketing? Cost per lead, cost per conversion, cost of acquisition, cost of lifetime value, engagement rate of content. Like I told you, all that funnel is what I do. We are manufacturers of lanyards, tried professionals to do digital, but I got a bleak response. Okay, 1 minute, I'm just gonna read. So see some of these individual, let me just read through. Okay, can we actually enable verbal questioning? Because I leave it to Akila and team. Sometimes a question might be relevant for a lot of other people, whichever, or maybe it'll be too noisy. Okay, I like this. Online selling has a certain price value. People are buying definitely people are buying a lakh worth phone online. So they've crossed that barrier. People are making lakhs of investments online. Like I told you, without talking to anyone. People are booking holidays online, can go more than a lakh. People have bought furniture online. So I don't think that people are buying jewelry of significant value online. So value online, the trust of online increases the more we do. So the big barrier is trust, but the more we do, the better we do it. Uh, Patagonia, is it authentic fashion? Fashion is a big contributor to global warming. Patagonia, apparently, I don't know, but Patagonia has where they actually are willing to restitch your clothes for you. So if you have a Patagonia shirt, you can ask them to go and refresh it for you. They will stitch it and send it back. They've got an ad that says, don't buy this jacket if you already have 2 jackets. So they are apparently authentic, but we never know. And for all you know, some big company will buy them and change the policy. Body Shop was authentic. L'Oreal bought Body Shop. Yeah, so that happens. Skill sets for growth hacking, same skill sets for sales. A really good sales guy will be a good growth hacker as long as he is a little bit number oriented. I find sales guys are entrepreneurial, high energy guys, never rest, they're go-getters. Those kind of guys become good growth hackers, but they just have to replicate those skills in a digital environment. Digital better suited for small businesses, definitely. Like I said, somebody with 100 rupees can begin a digital journey. So definitely suitable. How can we contact you? I'll share my LinkedIn ID and stuff like that. Can you engage me? I'm sure I'm not going to do my marketing now. So we'll do that one-on-one. Can we get the recorded bit of this PPT? I'm sure you can. I don't know if you've recorded. You can share it, not a problem. TI can share that. So earlier that question, if I go back, that question that came on lanyards, key communication as germ slip. So see, I'm not recommending. So how do you know if a certain message works? If you're putting up a certain content on some medium, if there is a better click-through rate of that communication, it means that communication is good. If I write a blog and if an organic reach of the blog is high, it means my blog is relevant. If out of 100 people who read the blog, 10 people engage with the blog, I know the content is good. But what happens, at least for me, I keep writing a blog. A lot of people don't write or click, but when I speak to them, they'll say, I read your blog. So that gives me some feedback that, okay, that blog was good.
Excuse me, yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Sir. Actually, I'm the one who has written that lanyard. Point is, we have spent some 50,000 rupees for 2 months, and we didn't get a good response out of that. We actually spent in the Facebook marketing. I was wondering, probably we are targeting in the other customers. Usually we are used to target for schools and colleges. Since they are not available now, we started targeting a new segment, and we did have experience in like corporate selling or those kind of stuff, and we tried through Facebook marketing. It has not worked out. So I want to know whether we need to change the communication or we need to change the channel as such.
So good questions. I'm not getting into the particular business, but see, invariably it will be
ID cards, ID cards and lanyards.
Sure.
Lanyard is what we wear on the neck.
Sure. No, what I'm saying is I'm not giving a specific answer. I'll tell you related stuff. So there is a company that does extended warranty. You can buy an extended warranty for your mobile phone. They also sell annual maintenance contracts for washing machines and air purifier. They also sell on-demand repair for mobile equipment. Laptop is broken down, you can contact that company. Now, what they find is each of those businesses responds differently to Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. So when I have a breakdown, I go to Google and saying laptop repair. So search works. But I'm not going and searching annual maintenance contract. That has to be sold to me. So if I'm on Facebook, I can see an ad that says, worried about your summer. So different mediums work differently for different categories. Certain companies find joy through LinkedIn, but not on Facebook. Like I'm selling jewelry online. Bluestone sells online jewelry. Search never works because nobody will search online jewelry. But when I'm on Facebook and I keep seeing Facebook ads, I might feel like buying a jewelry because it's very discretionary. Now, like I said, online, the digital broking arm, they found a lot of value through YouTube influencer videos. Because I'm consuming, if I'm an investor, I may be regularly going on YouTube and following some channels frequently. And hence I'm buying through that. So what you'll have to understand is the principle is go back to your consumer, find out what do they do 24 hours in a day. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Are they on some industry forum? And then try to advertise in that medium. So that informs your medium of choice. Whether your content is good for that medium will tell you whether the click-through rate is good or bad. But normally, like I said, even a bad ad will do well on a medium. But if the medium is bad, even the best ad cannot help you. Yeah. Sorry, let me just read through. These days, online digital marketing courses seem to be quite popular. How easy is it for a mid-career professional to switch to DM with a non-marketing background? Are the entry barriers too high? Actually not. See, in fact, today, there are a lot of companies starting off and looking for digital marketers. And I would find that, if you're good at it, the only thing is whether a course alone is enough for the expertise, I don't know. Digital marketing like sales cannot be taught in a course. Some people are good at sales, but if you worked in HLL, you get a better sales job because Levers mein kaam kiya, Usha Martin mein kaam kiya. So there is a lot of respect for where you worked, what work you've done. So, but best way is to start early and do more of it. But I think a lot of jobs will keep coming up for digital marketing because all entrepreneurs want to do it. Yeah, but education alone might not fill the gap. We have identified our primary problem as customer does not involve us in his decision making, does not like to be sold to, lead to customer ratios very poor. We don't know what to do. So Ram Kumar, I think what you've done is you've actually identified the problem. Like I said, see, there is really no rocket science solution. Customer does not involve us in his decision making. We'll just have to put three people together. How can we get more involved? Can we write to him? Can we do something? Can we maybe send them some thought leadership process? Lead to conversion ratios very poor. Why is it poor? So I'm saying the answers, see, sometimes I jokingly tell people that some people love questions so much that they don't want to do an answer. They're full of the question. Even the worst answer is better than no answer. But you need an answer. You need a draft. Yeah, you need a draft. In fact, to make today's presentation, I made some 3 drafts. First draft is totally ditched. I've never made this presentation before. I'm more a brand guy. But I have to start somewhere and I have to put something and then ditch it. So that makes it better. So prototype, test, evaluate, repeat. That is the answer for that. What energy, Srini, wonderful engagement. Thank you. Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm in favor of draft concepts. When I was in Unilever, one of my bosses used to say, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. Yeah, but you can't not have a problem also, but every problem has to have a solution. Even bad solutions, okay, because at least then you can iterate it. Otherwise, sometimes we spend a lot of energy painting the problem in a very rich manner. You have to nail the you have to fix the problem and nail it. You should not enjoy the problem. How important is responding to the review comments on our comment in the social media? I don't know, Arun, if you can talk more about it. I didn't understand the question. I'm not responding online because, I thought if I talk, everybody understands. Thank you, Jyoti. So any other questions?
We have one question that came in. This is Yashaswini, sorry. This is one question that came in that perhaps you can address. Is digital platforms better suited for smaller businesses? And if I can clarify what I think Arun meant as well, and you can answer both together. Arun, please correct me if I'm wrong. How important is responding to review comments on the content that we put out on our social media? So when people, whatever, share their views in any shape or form, do they need to hear back from the brand on that?
Okay, this is very good. Yeah, this is a very good question actually. So I'll give you my perspective, and I'm a big fan of Narendra Modi, not as a politician but as a marketing person. Yeah, so politically I have no views, but what I find is you should respond to things where you want the conversation to continue. Yeah, if I do not want the conversation to continue in a certain, there are certain people, see, there are all kinds of people who comment. There are people who are commenting because they want attention. There are people who are commenting because they want to become influencers. There are people who are commenting because they have a desperate problem. So if I'm able to understand what is the reason, who's commenting and why, I then am able to treat the 10% different from the 90%. I, as a marketer, I will never get drawn into a bad, somebody just wants to, finger me. I will not get into it because I can't come out of it looking good. Because he wants, like, if I go to an Arnab Goswami show, I will come back battered and bruised. I can't do it. But if, so I have to get into an engagement where I find it is good for me and it is important for them. So sometimes I'll say, I'm sorry you have a problem, contact me. But if he's just writing a long rant, I know I'll just write one thing. If I'm not going to keep on responding because I know it's going to, if he's really serious, he'll call me. Kind of stuff.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because some way I think I run an app because they give 1 star or 2 star, right? I think so you need to ignore or I need to respond. I think in that angle also.
So two things. That's so one is, one is you can never ignore the comment. So there are some of my clients have tried to suppress the rating because a lot of bad ratings are there and they feel the many bad ratings are done by competition with a motivated purpose. The better way is to generate so much positive comment that the negative comment is flushed away. That is only way. There will be people giving 1 star, but if there are enough people who are giving good comments and positive ratings, the negative comments go away. So that is always the endeavor.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. In influencer marketing, from view to customer, any average conversion ratio, there is actually no good average in any metric in any industry. I worked across some 50 to 60 brands looking at the numbers. None of the numbers make sense for anyone else. For example, I'll tell you one of my favorite anecdotes. I used to work with Baby Oil, which got bought by First Cry. They had their own apparel brands and they'll say discount on Baby Oil apparels. Click-through ratio 10%. 20% discount on Baby Oil apparel. 20% discount on Benetton apparel, 50% conversion. So better brands get better conversion all through the funnel. That's why I continue being a brand consultant, because whatever happens here, a Rajini movie will get a better opening because the brand works. The digital marketing that Rajini does will be the same as what another person does. But thankfully, the brand equity matters. So that is the main differentiator. Category to category, like I said, some category responds to some mediums better. Some better brands will always work better on any platform. Do we need to put out additional marketing efforts on hold if we do not have the capability to handle new customer signups? Yes. Yeah. Raj's question. We used to say in Hindustan Lever, if you do not have the product, don't do advertising. If you don't have supply, don't do advertising. If you do not have good visibility in retail, don't do advertising. Advertising should be done only when your later part of the funnel is totally in shape. However, by the time you have your funnel in place, if you want to have certain learnings about marketing, just do enough marketing to get the learnings. That learnings are useful. So do very limited, do like pilots, do A/B testing, keep documenting the learnings. So when your things in place, you can go all guns blazing. That experiments are good. How do companies do damage control in social media if there is negative impact? Again, case by case, it changes. Nestle, Cadbury, and all are great examples of how to do damage control. It depends on the extent of it, but if there has been some real, like Volkswagen, all of you know Volkswagen had this huge problem where they were seen as manipulating this. The interesting part is Volkswagen, Nestle, Cadbury, I believe, I'm totally individual belief, 90% of the consumers don't even know you had that problem. It is mainly Arnab Goswami and Times of India that will talk about it. Many people are not even coming to know of it. People are buying Cadbury chocolates, Nestle, Maggie, they bought it all through that. People have been buying Volkswagen right through that problem. So hence, number one, treat it as influencer management. It's more at the top, troublesome customers than everyone else. Be transparent, address the issue, engage with your influencers a lot more, and then get back to life as usual. A lot of sales managers will get worried, trade people will get worried. Because for them, it assumes a very exaggerated importance. Address their worries, show them you're doing something to address it, and that's it. But don't get too paranoid and switch off everything and go back into your hole. Let life as normal continue and yeah. Why was LinkedIn not mentioned in your earlier part of the PPT? FB and Google. Good. So LinkedIn has not monetized their platform as much as the others. Facebook and Google has monetized. So when you build a platform, it is your call whether you want to monetize it. LinkedIn has not monetized it, and that is very smart. So an ad on LinkedIn is 20 times more expensive than an ad on Facebook. So if you were to reach me on LinkedIn, you have to spend 20 times more money to reach me because LinkedIn is not allowing advertisers. So that's good. I mean, it's just like a club that's more exclusive. And hence, they are not making a lot of revenues and they're happy with it maybe. At some stage, they might monetize more. Right now, they're not monetizing. What is your view on investing, marketing money, participating in trade shows, setting up? See, I'm not an expert on B2B marketing because B2B, they do a lot of that. But I think there is a certain merit in doing it for B2B. Now, there are two things. Whenever a client asks me, this is what I tell them. Ask your sales guy whether it is important or not. Your sales guy will know what leads you get, etc. Second is, tell your sales guy that you have 100 rupees to give him. How much of that 100 rupees he wants to put in trade shows versus Facebook? It is not about, is trade shows good? Yes. How much of your monies will you put on trade shows? That is where real discussions happen. A TVS company will put maybe 2% of their money on the Auto Expo. But the 2% is like a huge stall in Auto Expo, very good. But there'll be 75 other expos they will not go. So my view is that participate in a few expos, but participate in a more impactful manner, rather than to token participation in 100. But that is my point of view. I don't know. I believe impact, in fact, that's another good, I didn't mention it here because it's more a media reach, frequency, and impact. That is a golden 3. You can write it down if you want. How many people do I reach? How often do I reach them? With what impact do I reach them? If your reach, frequency, and impact is good, consumers will at least come to the later stages of the funnel. If I'm only reaching them once in a year, then it is no use. So one big front page ad on Times of India and nothing else for the rest of the year is not advisable. Zodiac shirts, we used to say, was a very smart marketer because every week or every month they'll put one quarter page ad in Times of in Hindu and say Zodiac shirts. So they had medium reach, high degree of frequency, medium impact. Full page is high impact, quarter page is medium impact. I don't know whether you guys know of Asian Paints Colors or Home Solutions. Asian Paints Home Solutions did a 40cc ad, which is a very small ad, once a week for 10 years. and they built it as a very, very big business. So high frequency, very low impact, but medium reach. So when you do trade shows, what I normally tell them is, if one is you can be on all the trade shows, low impact, or be on few trade shows, high impact. I'm a brand guy, so I always like a little bit of higher impact. But low impact also works with a high degree of frequency. As your comment on LinkedIn, then is it make low impact on social media to the users? See, what I believe is, like I told you in my content strategy, a certain regularity is important because content cannot always be high impact. If like an advertisement like Cred is very high impact, but they cannot do every week one high impact. It's impossible to believe. People will get bored of you. But I need to be regular, so my content is always going to be medium impact regular. So like I work with a company called NewGen in Chennai. So they do very, very regular interaction on LinkedIn once a week, but it keeps pegging away. So if you are in their target audience, you'll keep seeing NewGen content regularly. And hence there is a fair amount of regularity. Like as a consultant, I write a blog once a month, which I find is fair regularity for what I am doing. If I write every week, people will stop taking me seriously. They'll say, kuch bhi likh deta, kind of a thing. If I don't write at all, then I'm not even in the game. So I need to ensure that I'm frequent enough for what I need to do.
An older question that might be interesting that I will draw your attention to is, are digital platforms better suited for small businesses or across the spectrum?
No, definitely. In fact, I find digital platforms are critical for small businesses because no other platform will entertain you. Only a digital platform will entertain you when you're small. And I'm counting even an email is a digital platform. Even an SMS is a digital platform. But non-digital, in fact, like I said, digital platform has a plateau. Like if you're Hindustan Lever, digital platform is only a small rounding off error for you because their audiences cannot be reached by digital. They are in rural markets, upcountry towns. People are not buying soaps looking at digital. So digital is very important when you grow from 0 to 10. When you go from 10 to 20, digital will become less important. When you grow from 20 onwards, digital might not even be important. Digital will just become hygiene, take care. 10%, 20% of your expenses will go on digital. That's pretty much. Like Amazon spend on television ads will be more than they spend on digital marketing. Because they don't need digital. Amazon doesn't need Google today. Amazon itself is good enough. Google's advertising is on television, by the way. Google does TV ads. Facebook will do TV ads because they have saturated digital reach.
Thank you so much. If anyone else has any other questions, please do send it out on the chat window. I think we have one more. Can we connect with you offline? Someone asked.
Yeah, sure.
When a brand becomes big, digital becomes a great tool for PR and image building. Your thoughts?
That's right. That is always true. That is always true. See, like I said, when a brand becomes big, the problems are different from the brand becoming small. So the problem is not digital. When you're big, your problem is defense. Colgate has a problem because your small guys will attack you. Unilever has a huge problem. So when you become big, digital is not an issue. Innovation is an issue. Segmentation issue. A lot of brand issues become more critical than digital. You mentioned HUL will make ads only if the product is visible in retail later part of the future. Yeah, correct. Shouldn't we test to induce curiosity of consumers before a product is launched? Yeah, this is good. So levers always test. So in fact, market research and testing precedes any launch. Like even today, apparently, when I launch a movie, people test even the ending of the movie. Yeah, so all kinds of critical decisions of big companies are tested. Digital is, and in fact, I didn't cover it, but digital has a whole range of offerings for testing, A/B testing. So if you have two websites and you don't know which website is better, test both. If you have two, like I said, the chatbot, you can test both. If you have two chocolates you have whether to launch this chocolate or that chocolate, I tell them launch both under two different brand names. see which sells better on Amazon, then you launch that, make that your mainstream. So digital allows infinite possibilities for testing. But that is different from marketing expenditure. That is research expenditure. And digital is very good. What would you recommend for people aspiring to get into digital marketing? Just Google, and there are certain, I mean, I myself, like I told you, I don't read, I read everything other than marketing, because I find marketing very boring reading. But I mean, there are a lot of blogs. I mean, you just search good blogs, and by the comments and reach, you yourself will know whether a blog is good or not. So, I mean, I read a lot. My recipe is read everything and figure out what is good and bad. If you just read one, you'll end up with Chetan Bhagat, which is not good. So you have to read a lot of stuff to know what is good and bad. So read a lot.
Thank you so much on that temptingly easy, but not actually that easy note. I think we will close for questions. We're running a little late. Thank you all very much for giving us your time for this very, very invigorating session. I think all of us go back with not just tips that we can use in our own businesses, but a whole range of examples, big, small, and everything in between, on how digital media can, serve the purposes that we want it to serve, and how, like you said, we can control our growth. So thank you so much, Mr. Srinivas, for your time, and thank you everyone for spending your Saturday morning with us. This brings us to the end of TiECON Chennai 2020 for this year. So we hope you will join us for all future events through the year, and then next year's TiECON, hopefully in person. Thank you all very, very much for your time.